Hello. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Julie Kudrin. I live in southwestern Iowa. I grew up in central Iowa and I've lived in the Midwest my whole life. I'm married to a wonderful, incredible man. He's my lifeline. He's, built me up and he supports me in everything I do. He's amazing. We have 3 beautiful daughters together and we have 2 big golden doodles that, between all of them, they're my life. I wanted to share with you why I am so passionate about a toxin-free lifestyle or a chemical-free lifestyle. I want to get real with you and share my story to help you understand. When I say chemical-free, I mean without toxic chemicals. Many of you know that I've been trying to be toxin-free for years now, and this is why. My dad was a farmer for the majority of his life. I grew up on a farm in central Iowa. He grew soybeans and corn, and he did this, he grew up on the farm. I have so many wonderful memories of growing up on that farm. When I was a lot younger, when I was a child, we used to spend our summers walking up and down the rows of soybeans and corn. We called it walking beans. And we would have a hoe in our hand and we would use the hoe to remove weeds from the field. Or sometimes if it was a stubborn weed, we'd have to pull them by hand. So we would hand weed our fields. As I got a little bit older, technology changed and we started what we called riding beans. Now, those of you who aren't from the Midwest probably have no idea what riding beans means. Basically, we called it a bean bar, and it was an apparatus that attached to the front of the tractor, and it had 4 seats in it. And we would sit in those seats, and there was a little footrest. We'd prop our feet up, and we'd ride up and down the field in the tractor. And we would each have a certain amount of rows, and we would have a wand in our hands, and we would spray this chemical poison onto the weeds to kill them as we rode past. Well, this chemical poison, everybody knows now, is the Roundup. The name brand is Roundup. Everybody uses it for weed control or to kill the grass in your sidewalks or whatever. But anyway, my dad, in order to fill this big 50-gallon tank full of Roundup, he would stand up, he'd climb up on the tractor and he'd be balancing himself up there and he'd be lifting up this container of Roundup and he would try to pour it into the 50-gallon drum. And then it was so concentrated he'd have to fill the rest of the tank with water with a hose. Well, when he's pouring this over his head, there's no, it's over his head and there's really not a whole lot of control, so he would splash a lot and he'd get it on his skin and on his hands, and it's not like he went to the sink right away to wash it all off because there's no sink in the outside of a farm. So he'd end up just letting it absorb into his skin, and it would, he wouldn't wash his hands until, the end of the day when he'd come in from his work. He never wore a mask, so he'd also be breathing in the fumes. When we were riding the beans, when we were on the bean rider, I was a child, and I remember we thought it was funny to get in Roundup wars, and that's what we called them, was Roundup wars. We would spray each other's feet. And I remember even thinking I was washing my dirty bare feet because, you're getting dust from the field. My feet would get really dirty. And I remember, I've got this water. I didn't realize how toxic the chemicals were. And so I would spray my feet to wash the dirt off as we were riding. It not my proudest memory. It wasn't my smartest moment, but I didn't know it was harmful to me. My dad also sold seed corn when I was young, and we would have stacks of 50-pound bags of seed corn in the shed. And my sisters and my cousins and I would play tag on these stacks, and it was so much fun. The only rule that we had was that we couldn't touch the ground. So we'd play tag, and we'd have to jump from one pile of seed corn to the other pile, and it was, kind of like the lava game. If you touch the ground, you die. So it was a lot of fun. But every now and then, the force of us jumping onto those bags, we'd tear a bag open, and there'd be like this pinkish, purplish kind of cloud that would puff a little bit. And I remember the smell of it. It just smelled pungent. And I would look down at the little seed corn in the bag. And I remember trying to figure out why it was pinkish purple. Because, the corn in the field wasn't pinkish purple. So why is this corn pinkish purple? And I always thought that was odd, but I never thought to ask. As an adult now, I realize it was pesticides and herbicides that were coated on all of those seed corns. Like I said, oh my gosh, I still remember the smell. When it was time to plant, my dad would rip open those bags and he'd pour them into the planter boxes that were on the back of the tractor. And it would create this big cloud of pinkish purple dust. And he'd be breathing it in because he's right there, and he never wore a mask. And he was there were so many more things that he was exposed to just for being a farmer. On December 5th in 2003, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And it was already very advanced. We watched our big, strong father wither away really quickly. He left this earth on Groundhog's Day, February 2nd, 2004. Just a few weeks later. It was so fast. And he was only 58 years old. I look now and I'm thinking, at this moment, my husband is 51 years old. He was only 7 years than what my husband is now. And that really hits home to me. Now, although there's no direct way to tell what caused my dad's cancer, I can't help but think of all the toxic chemicals that he had been exposed to over and over during his life. And when he died, it was then that I knew I needed to start watching what I exposed myself to and what I exposed my family to. My kids were still young at that point. So I started reading, all the ingredients in my cleaning supplies, because I thought chemicals is cleaning, right? I didn't think a whole lot about my personal care items. I did look in my makeup because I just saw somebody advertising some makeup that was fewer chemicals and healthier. So I did look into my makeup. But I used to start cleaning. I started cleaning with steam, and I bought this steam cleaner, and I would lug this big bulky thing all over, like to my bathroom, my kitchen, our playroom, and I'd have to sit there and wait for the steam to heat up, and it was time consuming, and it was inconvenient. And I often burnt myself on that steam when I'd be grabbing the wand, and I'd be like, oh crud, it's hot. And I had to try to keep my baby away at the time from grabbing it so that she didn't burn herself on it. So it was really inconvenient, and it was time consuming. And I knew that there had to be something better. Like I said, I switched my makeup for something that I thought was better. And although I used it for a few years, I never really liked it. I thought it was okay, but I never was satisfied with it. And I also started to look for some organic foods because I knew, pesticides and herbicides and what they could do do to our bodies because of what happened to my dad and him being a farmer. But let's be honest, organic food is expensive. And when you have young kids, it's so much easier to buy processed and, something easy and convenient and cheap. So I wasn't very good at it. But I knew that there had to be a better way. So that was the beginning of my journey over 14 years ago. My journey, it continues today. I mean, I'm never finished. I am more passionate about chemical-free life now than I ever have been. Now, don't get me wrong, I am far from perfect. If you come to my house and you did a search, you'd still find things that aren't great in my home. I honestly do believe in the good, better, best approach. meaning, you try to do good and you get, maybe you start with something that's a little better and then you find something a little better than that, so you switch to that, and eventually you're going to get to the best item that you possibly can. Best doesn't necessarily mean it has to be more expensive either. Do your research, read your labels, investigate your ingredients, because the more we know, the more we can do better, right? Now, I've been blessed beyond reason to have found a brand that I trust 100% without even needing to read the ingredients, even though I still do because it's kind of a habit and I've grown to like doing that. I have replaced just about everything in my home from one company. I've replaced my makeup, I've replaced my cleaning supplies, I've replaced all of my personal care items and my oral care, my toothpaste and my mouthwash. I've replaced everything with one company. Even some of my foods, and my supplements. So I use these items with my kids, with my pets. My husband uses them when he travels. I use them myself. Now I share them with all my friends and family, and I even make a lot of DIY items with it. I now only clean with Thieves Cleaner and essential oils. I am able to buy more organic foods because I found a way to earn an income just by using and sharing the things that I was already using and the things that I'm so passionate about. Now, I truly, truly want everybody to live a healthier lifestyle, because when you're healthy, you're happy, right? I mean, who wants to feel miserable? Our family, I'm fast forwarding the 14 years from my dad's issues. My family doesn't need to take daily medications. I look at so many people who are on all kinds of medication every day. I'm not against medications at all. There is a time and place for it, but I believe in preventative care. So I truly feel that us using our healthier items and products is keeping us from needing prescription medications. We don't have a huge prescription bill each month. We are rarely sick, which means that we don't have huge doctor bills or hospital bills. I firmly, firmly believe that ridding toxins in our home has increased our immune systems and our health. And I look forward to having so many healthy years with my family and watching my children grow strong and have children of their own that are also continuing that healthy, toxin-free living. So the future is bright, and I owe it all to Young Living.